Namaskar. Hello, friends. I have been sharing my practical insight into some selected verses of the Geeta. I have been talking about chapter 18 so far in the last couple of sessions. This is the last session when I will complete chapter 18 and the entire Geeta. Verses 59 to 62 of chapter 18. यदहङ्कारमाश्रित्य न योत्स्य इति मन्यसे मिथ्यैष व्यवसायस्ते प्रकृतिस्त्वां नियोक्ष्यति स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्धस्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुनेच्छसि यन्मोहात् करिष्यस्यवशोऽपि तत् ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशेऽर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मामया तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम्. Literal meaning: if out of pride you decide not to fight, that insistence of yours would be in vain, because your Kshatriya nature will force you to fight. O Arjuna, you are bound by your nature of fighting wars. Hence you will do what you don't want to do. O Arjuna, all the beings that have identified themselves with the machines of their bodies are rotated from one species to another by the Parameshwar by means of the power of his Maya, that is illusion, and he dwells in the heart of all the beings. O Arjuna, you should surrender to that Parameshwar with all your mind and heart. You will attain the supreme peace and the eternal state by his grace. Practical insight: we are all like robots driven by the underlying software program, which is nothing but the combination of three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, that each one of us is made up of. Even if our mind often tends to stray anywhere and everywhere, what we actually end up doing is entirely in accordance with our nature. So the lesson is not to bother too much about what has actually happened in the past or what will happen in the future, but simply focus on the action in the present moment with a firm faith that whatever happens will be in accordance with the big picture plan of the divine. Verse 63 of chapter 18. Iti te jnanamakhyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimrushyaitada sheshena yathechhasi tadha kuru. Literal meaning: thus, O Arjuna, I have described to you the most secret knowledge. Now you should contemplate on it thoroughly and then do what you feel like. Practical insight: this verse is a very interesting one. Even as Arjuna's Guru and the Almighty God at that, Shri Krishna tells Arjun that he has the freedom to act after listening to all the wisdom that the Lord preached to him. On one hand, it indicates that we apparently have a free will, but from the preceding verses, it is clear that we are like robots and are driven by the underlying software program. That is our nature as made up by the gunas. So Shri Krishna was actually confident that Arjun had understood what he had explained in so much detail, and that he would not act in any manner contrary to his preaching. In some sense, this also indicates that a real and capable Guru gives the right advice and is capable of ensuring that the disciple uses his so-called free will in the right manner in accordance with the Guru's preaching. In other words, it is all about the mental state of the disciple as to how he will act, and the Guru ensures that the disciple's mental state is right. Verses 64 to 66 of chapter 18. सर्वगुह्यतमं भूयः शृणु मे परमं वचः इष्टोऽसि मे दृढमिति ततो वक्ष्यामि ते हितं मन्मना भव मदभक्तो मद्याजि मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैष्यसि सत्यन्ते प्रतिजाने प्रियोऽसि मे सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. Literal meaning: listen to my most secret preaching once more. Since you are my most favorite, I am telling you what is beneficial for you. Establish your mind in me, engage in my bhakti, and bow before me. Then you will attain me, and I am telling this on a vow, because you are my favorite. Give up all the dharmas and just surrender to me alone. I will liberate you from all the sins, so do not grieve. Practical insight. Through the Gita, Shri Krishna explains many different ways of attaining liberation, namely karma, jnana, and bhakti. The different ways are suited to different types of people. These verses coming right at the end of the Gita convey that bhakti, that is devotion and surrender, is the best and the easiest path. Verse 1866 makes another important point about dharma, that it is not necessary for a true seeker to bother about any dharma, that is organized religion, which is founded on the concepts of papa, that is sin, and punya, that is credit for pious deeds, and heaven and hell. The seeker should simply surrender to the one God, and then he will be cleansed of all the sins and get liberated. The seeker need not worry about anything that he does or doesn't do. There are many examples in the Puranas of persons having committed all kinds of sins in their early life, like sage Valmiki as a robber in the early life, and later surrendering to God with all their mind and body by way of rigorous penance and getting liberated. Verse 67 of chapter 18. Idante na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shushrusave na cha mam yobhyasuyati. Literal meaning: do not share this knowledge with someone who does not engage in tapas, that is penance. Do not share it with someone who is not a bhakta, that is devotee. Do not share it with someone who has no desire for it, and do not share it with someone who hates me. Practical insight. Shri Krishna finally says that the spiritual preaching of the Gita should not be shared with people who are not interested in it and who do not have faith in the singular God. The reason is twofold. For one, sharing of this philosophy with someone uninterested will be wastage. Secondly, and this is more serious, it may also entail an unnecessary argument between the preacher and the non-believer. Such an argument can sow seeds of doubt in the mind of the preacher about his own faith, especially if he is not yet firmly established in his faith. On the contrary, sharing and discussing it with like-minded bhaktas helps concretize the understanding and faith for mutual benefit. Verses 71 to 73 of chapter 18. Shraddhavan nasuyascha shrunuyadapi yo narah sopi muktah shubhan lokan prapnuyat punyakarmanam kacchidetat shrutam partha tvayaiकाग्रेण चेतसा कच्चित् ज्ञानसम्मोहः pranashtaste dhananjaya. Arjuna Uvacha. नष्टो मोहः स्मृतिर्लब्धा त्वत्प्रसादान्मयाच्युत स्थितोऽस्मि गतसन्देहः करिष्ये वचनं तव. Literal meaning: one whose heart is filled with bhakti and who is listening to Geeta without any envy will get liberated and will attain that holy place where people with accumulated credit for good deeds go. O Arjuna, have you listened carefully with full focus on this Gita that I told you? Has the delusion that had arisen in your mind due to ignorance now vanished? Arjun said, O Krishna, my delusion has vanished by your grace. I have been able to remember my true form. All my doubts are cleared. Now I will do what you tell me to do. Practical insight. These verses tell us the power of the Gita philosophy. One who reads, listens to it in complete faith and with total devotion gets liberated. Arjun had been completely overwhelmed by moha, that is, attachment and wrong notions of me and mine, at the beginning, and had refused to accept Shri Krishna's initial arguments. But later, as Shri Krishna unfolded the profound spiritual philosophy, even that otherwise extremely debilitating moha of Arjun completely vanishes and he becomes ready to act in accordance with Shri Krishna's preaching. This also drives home the potent influence of a true guru on his disciple. We can understand this as a change in the relationship between Arjun and Shri Krishna as the Gita progresses. Initially, Arjun is still seeing Shri Krishna as a friend and a relative. Then gradually he realizes that Shri Krishna is divine incarnated and accepts him as his guru. Shri Krishna also then puts his all into his preaching and reveals all that is worth knowing in spirituality. In fact, Shri Krishna even grants his Vishwarupa darshan to show Arjun that everything is just one, namely the divine, and nothing exists apart from him or outside of him. No wonder Arjun's moha disappeared completely. The last verse 78 of chapter 18. Yatra yogeshwara krishno yatra partho dhanurdharaha tatra shrir vijayo bhutir dhruva nitir matir mama. Literal meaning. Sanjay said, it's my opinion that Goddess Lakshmi, victory, wealth, and unshakable morality will be present wherever Yogeshwar Shri Krishna and the archer Arjun are. Practical insight. This verse is said to be Purnodgar, that is the perfect statement. It is said to have the complete essence of Gita. The reason is that it conveys that Shri Krishna is the divine incarnate, and after he preached the supreme spiritual philosophy to his beloved disciple Arjun, the latter also became divine. It was thus a double benefit to Pandavas, and hence they were sure to emerge victorious. In the context of us ordinary seekers in the modern world, it can be understood to mean that if we are under the grace of a true guru, we can also emerge victorious in the struggle of worldly life, not in a worldly sense, but in a spiritual sense. We will be spiritually unhurt in the battle of life and successfully come out of it blissfully. The whole of Gita is rather extensive with some 700 verses. It covers many spiritual aspects and describes the various ways suited to different types of people interested in spiritual pursuit or even normal living, but in a peaceful manner. Now, this last verse makes a point about Guru Shishya relationship and how it is very fundamental to achievement of spiritual goal. A true guru who is himself self-realized and is capable like Shri Krishna, and a truly sincere and deserving disciple like Arjun is the kind of combination that leads to the disciple vanquishing worldly consciousness and concerns and thus getting liberated. That would be the meaning of victory in the modern context. One may imbibe all the varied knowledge of the Gita in an intellectual way, like studying a secular subject, say physics. But without a guru, it may not bring about liberation. However, guru does not necessarily mean a living guru. What is fundamental to the concept of guru is the surrender by the shishya or the disciple to the phenomenon called guru, that is Guru Tattva. Surrender means discarding limited bodily ego, and that is the most critical prerequisite for liberation. Chapter 18 and the Gita ends here as far as my sharing of my insights was concerned. I hope you find it useful. May God bless you. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.